Okay, great. Well, thank you. That was nice to meet everybody, and it is really exciting to see such a big group and such a group of dedicated students. So good job. Let me pull up my screen share here. Okay, so I'll introduce myself quickly since everybody else gave me the benefit of that. So my name's Alyssa Kay. I am a program manager at Salt Lake Community College in the Energy Institute, and I manage a variety of programs. Most importantly for this, for the purposes of what I'm going to be talking with you about today is the Energy Management AAS degree. And that degree also includes a number of certificates that I'll talk to you about later. Also the Building Automation program, which is really closely related to energy management, of course. And let's see how I came to this position. I was a student at the University of Utah as well. I got my master's degree in architecture at the university in 2003. So go Utes. And yay. And after getting my master's degree, I worked in architecture for a number of years. Worked for a couple of bigger firms in the Salt Lake Valley. I worked for MJSA Architects for a while, and I worked for FFKR Architects for a while. And then in the economic recession of 2007 through 2009, and I'm sharing this because this may feel relevant to some of you right now. I lost my job in architecture and went into education at that point. And I was still working as an architect on my own. I ran my own architecture firm for a while and did some really exciting projects. But I really found that I fell in love with education, and as much as I enjoyed the building industry, I really enjoyed being able to share my knowledge of the building industry with other people and kind of promote energy efficiency through that aspect. So sort of spreading the message far and wide. So after working as an adjunct instructor for a while at Salt Lake Community College, I became a full-time program manager. Let's see, that was, I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary. So still fairly new. And it's been really fun and exciting. And I've loved to kind of learn the energy industry from a different aspect than what I came to know it from in architecture. And it's been really great, especially to watch the energy industry in Utah grow, and sort of the connections that I've gotten to make since being at Salt Lake Community College. And right now, as far as I know, Salt Lake Community College and the University of Utah are kind of the two energy efficiency programs in Utah. And so it's really exciting to work with the University of Utah and promote the growth of the industry that way. So I guess a little preface before I get started, because most of my students at Salt Lake Community College, when they come to me interested in the Energy Management AAS degree, usually the first question they ask is, you know, what's the job market like? The AAS degree was really designed to put people through school quickly to get them into jobs quickly. And so really that's what most of my students are looking at. And so that's kind of the perspective that I bring. So I'm going to kind of start there today. And hopefully I'm not sharing information that, you know, all of you already know, and it's kind of old hat, but I thought, you know, especially right now, it's really relevant. So let's see. Okay. So first of all, you know, why does energy efficiency matter? Like, why does this industry exist, and why are there jobs in this industry? So it's really interesting, you know, because the population is growing so rapidly, you know, globally, in the United States and globally, that we continue to increase energy use globally, right? And I think probably a lot of you are very familiar with the state of carbon emissions globally and what that means for our futures. And so, you know, it is a concern how we can keep growing our population, keep growing our economy, and not, you know, run out of resources on this planet, right? And you know, there's always a lot of talk about solar energy and wind energy and, you know, all forms of renewable energy. And those things are really exciting. They really are. All of those things also come with a carbon impact, right? You know, solar panels are great. They produce energy with a lot less carbon than, you know, a coal-fired power plant. However, there's also carbon emissions associated with manufacturing solar panels. The cleanest source of energy is the energy that we don't use, right? That's kind of like, seems like a no-brainer. Seems like something that everybody should know. But, you know, when I talk to people, a lot of times everybody's focused on, you know, how we can produce cleaner energy. There's been a lot less focus from a public perspective anyway on, you know, how we can use less energy. And really, like, that's what you guys are doing. You know, you're helping us use less energy. So what you're doing is really producing the cleanest form of energy we could possibly use. So I'm including a lot of graphs up front here in the presentation. Because I figure, you know, you're all engineering students. You probably enjoy graphs. Yeah. So I know I do. It really helps me to be able to look at ideas and be able to encapsulate those easily. So this graph is really interesting because it shows if we had continued to use energy at the same rate that we were using energy in 1980, where would we be right now? Our energy productivity, you know, the amount of goods and services we're able to produce for the amount of energy that we're using is a lot less than it would be if we hadn't been implementing energy efficiency measures for the past 40 years. So this is a similar graph. So you can see down here in this teal color, this is our actual energy consumption over the last 40 years in the United States. And, you know, despite our population growth and despite our economic growth, that has remained fairly flat. And you can see that this yellow band right here, this is the energy savings since 1980 due to energy efficiency measures. And then this green band up a little higher is the energy savings due to structural changes. But this yellow band right here, this is where you guys work. And very similarly, this is the related carbon reductions due to energy efficiency measures. So that teal band at the bottom is actually a little bit lower than it was in 1980, or about the same, due to all of the energy efficiency measures that have been implemented. So good job, you're part of that. And specific to this time period, I'm sure that a lot of you have heard, give me, you know, a thumbs up if you've heard that this year our global CO2 emissions have decreased by 8.8% approximately. Yes. All right. So, so that's really interesting. You know, obviously, we all know why that happened. And obviously, you know, as the eventually, when we come out of this pandemic and the economy again begins to come back, you know, we're not going to sustain those reductions. But it's really interesting how quickly those reductions happened. Really, that 8.8%, it's an equivalent to almost 2.6 gigatons of carbon. And that puts us at about the same level of carbon emissions that we were at 10 years ago. And that kind of a reduction, that's like 6 times larger than any previous reduction that ever happened. And before that, the largest reduction was, which I mentioned earlier, the financial crisis of 2007, 2009. And you can see that on the graph right there, the vertical line to the right that says financial crisis. And before that, the oil shock caused a small reduction, and World War II and the Great Depression. But really, this reduction is the largest reduction in CO2 emissions that's happened since World War I. So I guess the question really is, how do we continue to make those kinds of reductions without, you know, putting all of our livelihoods at risk, right? So we're going to kind of go into more of that later, but that's sort of the position that we're in right now. So before COVID, the energy efficiency market was looking really good. So in 2019, energy efficiency jobs grew by about 2.3%. And it was predicted that for 2020, energy efficiency jobs would grow by about 3%. Now, all of those jobs aren't exactly the kinds of jobs that you guys do, that we do. A lot of those jobs are construction jobs. A lot of those jobs are, you know, solar installation jobs. A lot of those jobs are manufacturing jobs. But a significant amount is consulting, engineering services. And, you know, what we were seeing is that, so the national average annual job growth rate between 2009 and last year was, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 1.3%. So energy efficiency jobs growing at 2.3% is a lot higher than average job growth rate. That job growth rate was unusually high because of the economic recession and the recovery from that recession. And what we were looking ahead to for job growth rate was about an average of 0.4% over the next 10 years, 0.4% per year. So 3% job growth is, you know, that's significant. So what we were really seeing was a booming in the energy efficiency market. And that's taken a little bit of a turn, but I think experts are pretty confident that as the economy recovers, and as we're also globally looking at the need to reduce carbon emissions, that energy efficiency is going to be a huge part of that recovery, and there will be more jobs associated with energy efficiency. So let's see. So I mentioned that, you know, all of those jobs aren't exactly engineering jobs. And it's kind of hard when you look at employment reports for energy efficiency. It's kind of hard to separate out, you know, what's a, what I'm going to call hardcore energy efficiency job, like what you guys are doing, you know, you like eat, breathe, and live energy, right? That's versus, you know, somebody who works in a manufacturing plant making solar panels, or, you know, making energy efficient HVAC systems. They are working in energy efficiency, but they're not necessarily, you know, that's not really their focus. You know, their focus might be, you know, how the plant runs. It might be, you know, how the pieces come off the assembly line. So even though the outcome of their jobs is energy efficiency, it's not really what their focus is. So just in kind of trying to distill out what the job market looks like for you guys, the AEE, the Association of Energy Engineers, in their market survey, they consult with people who have their CEM, their Certified Energy Manager certification. And they ask those people, does your company plan on hiring energy professionals in the next 12 months? So these are, you know, people with their CEM. Again, these are hardcore energy efficiency employees.
Hey, Alyssa.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in on a note of context for the group. So probably most folks here are not familiar with AEE.
Yeah.
So just so you know, team, AEE is the Association of Energy Engineers. It's like the equivalent of AEC in the chemi world, or ASME or ASHRAE in more of the mechanical world.
Yeah, and we'll go into that a little more later. So of the certified energy managers that were polled, the people who said that their companies plan to hire in the next 12 months, so you can see consulting firms at about 16%, and ESCOs at 8.6%. Who's familiar with what ESCOs are? An ESCO, raise your hand if you're familiar. Julie is. Okay, so an ESCO stands for Energy Services Contractor, and Julie can tell you a lot more about that. Julie's been really involved in a local organization that supports ESCOs in Utah. Well, I guess it's a national organization, but we have a local chapter here. Anyhow, so ESCOs are basically consulting / contracting firms that will go into a company and say, you know, these are the projects that we can do that will save you energy, and we can finance that and pay for it out of your energy savings. So it basically provides, you know, commercial and industrial companies a way to increase their energy efficiency without having to put forth that capital investment. So basically what we're talking about here, so consultants and ESCOs and utilities are kind of the industries in what I'm going to call, again, hardcore energy efficiency that look like they're growing, that are definitely hiring in the next 12 months. And this is from 2019, so this is pretty recent. And then this report is the U.S. Energy Efficiency and Employment Report. This is something that gets put out every year that looks at energy, you know, jobs across the board, and what employment is looking like for those jobs. So these numbers, and let me just see if I click here. Yes, okay. So in these numbers, this is kind of where you fall. So you're not really in the construction industry. You mostly fall under what's called professional and business. You know, you're consulting with businesses to help them save energy, right? And then also your jobs fall a little bit under the manufacturing. So some, you know, manufacturing companies have those engineering services in-house. But a lot of them consult with engineering firms. So these numbers don't count people who work directly for utility companies administering energy efficiency programs. So about 2/3 of utility companies in the United States have energy efficiency programs. And a lot of those utility companies contract out their energy efficiency programs to companies like Nexent, who Michael Reynolds used to work for. You don't still work for them, do you, Michael? Just going to school full time, I think.
No, yeah, I'm not with them anymore.
Okay. So those kinds of contracted positions fall in the professional and business services in this chart. But there's still about 20,000 employees, so about 3% of the utility workforce that work for utility companies that aren't accounted for in this chart. So you can add to this number about 20,000 additional people. All right, so so you can see that in 2019, professional and business jobs grew by about 14,000, and manufacturing jobs in energy efficiency grew by about over 3,000. And the employers report that they have some difficulty finding qualified people to fill these jobs. So in professional business services, about 80% of employers say that they have some difficulty finding qualified people to fill these jobs. And those jobs specifically that they have some trouble finding people to fill in professional and business services, most of those jobs are engineers, 35% of those jobs. And also some of those jobs, again, are in manufacturing. So you're in a pretty good place, right? Despite the 2020 weirdness, the job market looks pretty good for you, and it looks like once we kind of recover from this, there's going to be plenty of jobs and maybe even a need for more jobs than what we had before. So I just want to say that the reason, the biggest reasons that employers cite for difficulty hiring, number one, is they have a hard time finding people with experience, with training, and with the technical skills that they need. All right, so most of you, are in school, and I know from when I was in school that it's hard to, work and go to school at the same time, especially once you get into, grad school. And it's really important to focus on your studies right now. So a lot of us come out of school, with our degree, and we don't have a lot of experience. And it's always a funny thing to me that employers, want, somebody who's like, 20 something years old with, 20 years of experience and a master's degree, right? But there's things that you can do to kind of help yourself so that when you get your degree, you have the experience that employers are looking for. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. And the second leading thing that employers say that they're looking for is, or that they have difficulty, the reason they have difficulty finding people is they have difficulty finding people with industry-specific knowledge and skills and interests. So of the pool of people with an engineering degree, so if they put in their job posting that they want an engineering degree, a lot of those people may not have significant interest or knowledge or skills in energy specifically. As you know, engineering is a big field, and so there's a lot of different areas of practice there. And then the third thing that employers say is that there's a lot of competition for talent, and there's a small applicant pool. So, that indicates that there's more jobs than there is applicants. Okay, so how do you get that experience, those technical skills that employers are looking for you, that they want you to, come out of school already having, in addition to your degree? So like I mentioned before, there are 2 programs in Utah that I know of that are really focused on energy and providing skills and training in energy. So that's the Intermountain Industrial Assessment Center, which you're all a part of. So you all have set yourself up really well there and given yourself an excellent foundation. And the other one is the Energy Institute at Salt Lake Community College. So of course, you all know about the Intermountain Industrial Assessment Center. So I'm not the person to talk about that. So I'm going to talk to you about the Energy Institute. So the Energy Institute, you know, this program was really designed to, actually the program was started during the previous economic recession in 2007 through 2009. And it was started using Economic Recovery Act money. Forgive my dog over there. He's waking up and starting to want some attention. So hopefully he won't start barking at me in a minute. So
if he does, Brooke can share some tips with you.
Okay, great. All right, so you know, 2007 to 2009, there were a lot of people out of work, and so there was Recovery Act money to send people back to school, to get training in green careers, you know, to get started on the you know, the push that we need to reduce our global emissions. So basically, this program was started then, and it was started by industry. It was a collaboration, you know, between Rocky Mountain Power and Dominion Energy and the local energy engineering firms to train people with technical skills. So, you know, we're not talking about engineering here. We're talking about, you know, people who install solar panels. We're talking about the HVAC technicians. So kind of preparing them for, you know, the higher efficiency HVAC systems that were coming, that are now, you know, that we're now deploying. And the program really focuses on commercial energy efficiency, where you guys are, you know, very focused on industrial. We look at, you know, commercial office buildings and things like that. So very HVAC focused, very lighting focused, and then training business professionals on sort of the language of energy and how to account for energy, you know, in the bottom line. And so our instructors in the program are all professionals that work in the industry. So they're all adjunct instructors. And that's, for our case, is really beneficial because our instructors, you know, are living and working this every day, and then they bring, you know, whatever they did at work that day, they bring it to class, and they're able to talk to the students about, you know, sort of the current state of the industry. And the students in our courses, while we have a wide variety of students, a lot of our students tend to be building operations professionals. So people who work in facilities. So people who are working with HVAC systems every day, people who are working with lighting systems every day. And they have, you know, sort of those like hands-on questions like, okay, well, you know, if I want to change out this boiler to, you know, a smaller, more efficient boiler, does it make sense to let this boiler, you know, run the rest of its lifespan before I do that? You know, should I try to get 5 more years out of it? Because, you know, they're really looking at like day-to-day operations and what their budget is, which is usually pretty limited for facilities, and you know, how to meet the needs of the people in the building on their limited budgets. They also, you know, tend to know about the specifics of the system. And so if we've got a student in a class that, you know, if we're talking about VAV systems, we definitely, you know, if we're talking about like VAVs, variable air volume controllers, we have a student in the class who like works on those every day. And so if somebody else says, what is that? The student can, you know, pipe up and say, well, you know, this is what it is, and this is where it goes, and this is how it works. And so they bring this like real world knowledge, which is really important. Let's see what else. So our classes are affordable. The community colleges. Now I went to school at the University of Utah, so you know, the University of Utah and any university is definitely worth the money that you pay there. Community colleges are always meant to be you know, the smaller, more affordable option for students to get started. And then, you know, once the students have that, you know, kind of foundation under their belt, move on to university where they're, you know, focused on the higher level classes. So our tuition is about 1/3 what it is at the University of Utah. We don't offer all the amenities, but for people who, you know, need that affordable education, that's the service we provide. So Julie mentioned, I can't remember if it was before most people came into class, but that she had talked to one of the students about, hey, you know, you can take classes at Salt Lake Community College. So, you know, when I was a student at the University of Utah, and I never went to a community college, I went, you know, from high school straight to the University of Utah. I never considered taking a class at the community college. And, you know, I don't know why I would have, you know, like here I was getting, you know, this high quality education at the University of Utah, and that's where I wanted to go, and that's what I wanted to do. If I knew then what I know now, I probably would have taken some of my classes at the community college and then transferred them over because of the affordability of that. So the Salt Lake Community College has what's called a guest student status. So that means that you can be a student at the University of Utah or at any of the universities in Utah, you know, Utah State, Weber, any of the universities, and you can take classes at Salt Lake Community College as a guest student. You're not like a full student at the college. You don't have to go through all of the same testing and procedures that our new students have to go through. But you do fill out an application, and you fill out this guest student status application. And basically you can take classes at Salt Lake Community College and transfer those over to the University of Utah. So if you have technical electives that you need for your degree, some of those can be met through classes at Salt Lake Community College. So in case you're interested or thinking about that, some of the courses that we offer. Just to back up a little bit, so the Energy Management program is an Associates of Applied Science program. However, not everybody that goes through our program is looking to get their Associates of Applied Science. So we have a lot of students that come and take, you know, one class here or one class there, either for their professional development or for a certificate that will, you know, help them with their resume, help them move up in their job. And so it's sort of like an a la carte menu, right? So you can get, you know, the whole package, or you can just pick and choose, like, this is what I want. So some of the classes and certificates that might be interesting or beneficial or useful for you guys are listed here. So first of all, we have our HVAC optimization certificate. So that's 3 classes, which translates to 1.5 semesters, because all of our classes are half a semester long. We do that to accelerate the amount of time it takes someone to get their degree, and also because, as you know, the more classes you take in a semester, the less it costs per class. So that helps with the affordability. So the HVAC optimization certificate really looks at let's see, so small and large commercial HVAC systems. So we kind of start out with, you know, small commercial rooftop units, and, you know, talk about the refrigeration cycle and the physics behind it, refrigeration. But then we talk about how that applies to rooftop units, and then from there we get into larger systems, so like heat plants and things like that. So we do have, Julie wanted me to mention some of the resources we have on campus. So our program is located at the Miller campus, which is in Sandy. And we've recently built what's called an advanced rooftop controls lab. And so we have a few rooftop units there that we've got outfitted with advanced rooftop control systems. And in conjunction with Rocky Mountain Power, we provide training to HVAC professionals on how to install and use these advanced rooftop control systems. So the advanced rooftop control systems are sort of like mini building automation systems. So it's very much meant for the light commercial market, but getting them into sort of, you know, the building automation end of things. We're also building soon cold climate heat pump lab. And so that's really exciting. So we'll have, you know, in addition to our rooftop units, we'll have hands-on equipment that our students can use and explore for heat pumps. So that's all included in the HVAC optimization certificate. And that the instructor who teaches that is Jim Crockett, who works with ETC Group, who's a local energy engineering firm. And Jim's, during non-COVID times, Jim's main job, he travels all over the world, and he basically does what you guys do, but more for commercial companies. He inspects their HVAC systems and helps companies to optimize those systems to save, you know, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on large operations. So on top of that certificate, we've got an HVAC energy automation and controls certificate. So that's one additional class that's taught by Galen Atkinson, who's the founder of Atkinson Electronics, which is a local Utah-based building automation company. And that class really goes into, you know, how building automation works and the networking behind it, and how those systems are designed, and why they're designed that way, and how to design building automation systems to optimize HVAC energy efficiency. We also have a class that also stacks on the HVAC optimization certificate. And when I say it stacks on, you can earn both certificates, but for people with I guess, significant knowledge and experience, and I would count, you know, the work that you do in your energy studies at the U, I would count that as significant knowledge and experience. So you can, again, come and take an individual class. You don't have to do the whole certificate. So Sunny Devnani at KW Engineering teaches our field methods for energy auditing course. And so that's, again, a lot like what you do, you know, going into facilities and auditing those facilities, but it's more focused on HVAC systems rather than kind of process systems. And then Chris Cox from Nexent teaches our energy modeling class. And so the energy modeling class is really fun. Chris, when he started teaching it, he said, I want to be like the Bob Ross of energy modeling. And if you've done a lot of energy modeling, you know that it can be, you know, sometimes kind of boring and sometimes kind of frustrating, but Chris makes it a lot of fun. And we teach 3 programs in that energy modeling class. We teach Train Trace, we teach Open Studio, and of course the third one is going to elude me right now. But yeah, if you're interested in energy modeling,
It'd be eQuest.
eQuest, thank you. And then the other certificate that might be interesting to you is our energy efficient lighting certificate, and that's taught by Jody Good, who is a retired principal at Spectrum Engineers. Jody is, he's known as Mr. Lighting. He's an international award-winning lighting designer, and he knows everything about lighting that anybody could ever, like all of the knowledge that anybody could amass in their lifetime on lighting. He started out in the theater industry, lighting and theater, and he actually started to design his own systems, and that's how he got into lighting design.
Hey, Alyssa, I just want to jump in really quick, recognizing it's 10:35. Some of you may need to call it good and move on to your next classes. Please do that if you need to, obviously. We'll keep going here and keep recording. So I think Alyssa's starting to get into some extra interesting stuff. So I would encourage you guys to come back and check this recording out. If you need to leave now, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'll try to wrap up quickly too. I just have a little bit more, so sorry to Sorry to keep you. Thanks for your patience. All right. So in addition to getting some, industry-specific skills training, one of the things you can do to set yourself apart, to position yourself really well when you graduate, is certifications. And I'm going to talk to you specifically about the CEM certification. So earlier I mentioned the Association of Energy Engineers and that CEM certification. So there are a number of industry trade groups that are highly valuable for you to check out and be a part of. The Association of Energy Engineers is the trade group that I know of that is really highly focused on energy efficiency. So other trade groups, include energy efficiency and have that as part of their purview. But the Association of Energy Engineers sort of zeroed in on that, and that's really what they focus on. And the CEM, the Certified Energy Manager certification, has kind of become the gold standard certification for people in professionals in energy efficiency. And so, for example, it's a certification that's valued so highly by Rocky Mountain Power that they sponsor the training that's needed to obtain that certification in Utah for their customers. So it's something that a lot of associations recognize, and people with their CEM certification are highly sought after, and it's sort of an indicator that again, you're in that hardcore energy efficiency world. You know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about. So in order to get your CEM certification, you need a certain amount of experience, and in addition to that experience, you need a degree. So depending on what your degree is in, it changes the amount of experience that you need. So for a 4-year engineering degree, you need 3 years of related experience in order to get your CEM. And that doesn't mean that you can't sit for the CEM exam coming right out of school. If you don't have that 3 years of experience and you sit for the CEM and you pass the exam, you can get what's called an EMIT, an Energy Manager in Training certification. And that certification is basically good for 6 years. You can keep that certification for 6 years with your continuing education while you get the experience that you need in order to get your CEM. And the EMIT is, it's held in, I would say, in as high regard as the CEM is. It's basically an indicator to employers that you know what you're talking about. This is your interest. This is what you're pursuing. You're just right out of school, so you don't have that 3 years of experience yet. So in order to get your CEM or your EMIT, so again, you have to have a degree, you have to have some experience, and you're required to do a training seminar. So that's basically a week-long seminar, which I consider kind of a test prep. It's like basically, how do you pass the CEM exam? And you can complete that seminar through the national organization. Right now, they're doing a lot of that online. Or our local chapter of AEE, actually, we were supposed to do one this year, but it got pushed off due to COVID. So next year, we'll sponsor a local training. And that's a way to get it done a little bit more affordably. The seminar is not cheap. It's a very expensive certification. It costs about $2,000 to do the seminar. And then I think it's—
Yeah, just for context, team, it costs me more to maintain my CEM than it does my PE.
Yeah, yep. And there are ways that you can, so you said to maintain, so there are ways that you can get your continuing education for cheaper than how the AEE offers it. But yeah, the AEE training is really expensive.
Alyssa, do you have a sense of the timing of next year's session?
Yeah, so it'll be in October of next year. And so the local chapter offers that training at a little bit of a discount. And then, like I said before, Rocky Mountain Power sponsors it as well. And so last year, I think Rocky Mountain Power offered $500 for people who worked for Rocky Mountain Power customers to take that. And so I believe that most of the people who did that training through the local chapter last year did it for about $1,500 rather than $2,000. And that includes the testing price. So students who get their Associates of Applied Science and Energy Management through Salt Lake Community College get to waive that seminar requirement because the degree is considered to be an equivalent of that seminar. So they still have to pay like $400 just to take the exam. So that's a little bit about the CEM exam. In addition to the CEM, a couple of other certifications, and this is more in the architecture field than engineering, but just green certifications in general. LEED is still highly relevant. And then who here is familiar with the Living Futures Institute? Let's see. No? Okay. Oh, a couple of people. All right. So the Living Futures Institute is, I think it's like LEED on steroids, really. So it's sort of the next, I think how they position themselves is to kind of be the next level. Like, okay, we've kind of gotten used to what we need to do for LEED now. Let's really like dive deeper and see, how green we can go. So their requirements are a lot more performance-based. And so, they really look at like, okay, what makes the biggest difference? And they assign more points to those things. Again, I think that's more for the architecture world than engineering, but, just a couple of things to be familiar with. And then, in addition to certifications, the other thing that trade industries groups do really well, and especially the local chapters, is networking. And so I know that the local AEE chapter offers a free student membership. I think the national membership is like $20. I know that ASHRAE also has a student membership. I'm not sure what the cost is for that. There's an organization called ABIPSA. It's the International Building Performance something. It basically, like, they learn about energy modeling. That local chapter was really active here a couple of years ago. I'm not sure about their current status. And then Julie, the ESCO organization that you're a part of, and I can't think of the name right now, sorry. Did I put you on the spot? Sorry, you're muted.
God, I am spacing it myself.
Okay, I don't feel quite so bad then.
Anyway, there is not, I would say of the 3-4 you have listed there, the top 2 are definitely the most active. In fact, I think some of our students over the summer participated in a few, the Utah chapter of the AEE has monthly events at this point, yeah. I think. And I think at least some of the folks that are on this, are in this session, sat in on a couple of those.
Perfect. Yeah, so, obviously everything's different right now because of COVID. So, generally AEE would meet in person about once a month to do trainings, and then have a big symposium once a year that was a half-day event. And right now we're doing all online webinar trainings once a month. And we're not doing the symposium this year, but should be doing it again next year. So it's difficult to network online. If you show up to a training, oftentimes it's the presenter kind of talking for a long time like I'm doing now, and then not getting a lot of feedback from the participants. But a better way to network with those local chapters is to get on the board. And the board is always wanting perspective, especially from students. because you guys are really the next generation of professionals. And we want to know, what you think and what you care about. And we want you to steer the direction of these organizations. So I would say, especially right now during COVID, where it's difficult to, go to in-person events and network, try to, reach out to the board and say, hey, I'm interested, and those board meetings are once a month and they're usually an hour or less. And, even if you don't show up to every board meeting, just getting your name on that list really puts you in a good place with the other professionals in Utah that are members of these organizations. It's a way to kind of get your foot in the door and just have people know who you are and what your name is. Let's see, would you add anything to that, Julie?
Nope, I love that suggestion.
Okay. So that's pretty much it. That's all I have to talk about, but I am happy to answer any questions that you have about any of the organizations. AEE is the one that I've been most involved with, so I know more about them than the other ones. I'm happy to answer any questions about the program at Salt Lake Community College or about what I've seen in the industry in general. And before I take questions, I just want to say, if you haven't voted yet, go vote.
Alyssa, the one thing I was thinking about on my mind was just to give these guys a heads up on the scholarship.
Oh yeah, thanks. I forgot to do that. Yeah, so the other benefit of trade organizations is that most of them offer scholarships of some kind. And so the AEE, the local chapter is able to nominate, I think, up to 6 students every year for a scholarship. And last year we got the word out really late. I think it was like the day of or the day before that we let Julie know. But we did still get 6 applicants. And so all of those applicants got nominated. And I'm not sure, I don't get to hear back about, unless the students follow back up with me and let me know they got a scholarship. I don't hear back about who got scholarships, but I know that at least 2 of the students this last year got a scholarship. And the year before, 3 of the students we nominated got scholarships. And, the scholarships, I think, were between $1,000 and $2,000. So, it's not going to pay for your semester, but it's a minimal amount of work. It's like, a 1-page essay about why you want to go into energy, and the potential for $2,000. So that's pretty good return on your investment.
And Alyssa, am I recalling correctly that that's typically towards the end of the spring semester that application is due?
Yeah, I think it was April, if I remember right. And again, we'll try to get the word out sooner this year, but if you go to the AEE website, aeecenter.org, they have information about that as well.
And for any of you that really piques your interest, by all means, write down Alyssa's email address and send her an email in the spring semester, letting her know that you're interested and want to be in that loop. The sooner you do that, the more time you give yourself to be able to complete the application. And I have seen it. I agree with Alyssa 100%. It's super straightforward. It would take you maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Definitely less than an hour. And your chances are good, like really high.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of you are well positioned to qualify for this.
Yeah, because really the requirement of the scholarship is that you're studying energy. And there's not, like I said, there's 2 institutions in Utah where you can do that. And so, you don't have a lot of competition.
So we'll open it up to the group. For what it's worth, Alyssa, we did an assessment with Alyssa and facility in the SLCC system last well, we were doing the assessment over almost a year ago now. And I think, James, I remember you were on that team as well as some others. You all were asking some really good questions about the classes she's talked about the AEE and the Utah chapter of the CEM. So by all means, I see most of you have stayed with us. If you have questions about any of these things that we haven't addressed, they were all really good questions. I'd encourage you to chime in with them for the benefit of the group.
I have a quick question. I'm not sure it's one you can answer. It may be more on the U side, but I know at least for mechanical engineering, we have to take 2 electives that are within the mechanical engineering department, and then we can take 2 others that are outside of it. And I'm wondering if some of these energy management classes might qualify as like mechanical engineering electives.
I don't think they would qualify as mechanical engineering electives. So our classes are all going to be lower division, and I would guess that your mechanical engineering electives are probably upper division. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that would disqualify them right there. But I think that they would qualify as your 2 additional electives. And you definitely want to talk to your advisor about that.
Okay. I actually just sent an email.
For what it's worth, if anybody is interested in that, Dr. Paul and I would love some of the IIAC students to attend those classes. There's been a lot of interest, for example, in the building simulation class in particular from the group over the years. So if you have any interest, I think Dr. Paul would be more than happy to help try to navigate that as best as possible to your benefit. I think it'd benefit the program, and we always want to be building a stronger connection with Alyssa. So if there is any interest, don't take no for an answer. Reach out for our help to help that happen.
Cool, thanks.
And I know, talking to Dr. Powell, they have cross-listed those classes in the past, James, I think in the chemical engineering department, because Dr. Powell's in the chemical engineering department, but they have been listed in the past.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the specifics there either, but I do think we can work it out if there's interest. By the way, Alyssa, speaking of which, with COVID and everything, I mean, I know in the past we've talked about remote options being attractive, especially for that building energy simulation, just because of the application. How much of your classes at this point are virtual, and how much is COVID affecting what you might do moving forward? Have you sort of had to accelerate your virtual options by default?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. So what Julie's talking about is that we've been trying to move our program more to remote delivery, like basically what we're doing right now, in order to provide the education to a broader geographical region of Utah. And so what we were doing for a while is we were webcasting live from the classroom. So the instructor was there with students in the classroom, and we've had a few students complete the program from one from Colorado and a couple from rural Utah. And so since COVID hit, we've just gone completely online. All of our classes are remote broadcast right now, just like this. So you are live with the instructor, and it works really well, especially for that energy modeling course, because really the most of that course is the instructor showing what the modeling does online, and you're kind of following along. So you're on the computer in a computer lab anyhow, so you might as well be at home on the computer. So once it's safe for all of us to be back together in the classroom again, the plan is that we're going to continue to do remote broadcast. But right now we're missing some of the hands-on in-person opportunities that we would normally have, like in our ARC lab. And so in the future, the plan is to continue to remote broadcast the classes, which is really nice, for you not having to commute from the University of Utah clear down to Sandy. You can just basically stay on campus or wherever you are. And then if there's a field trip or anything like that, we'll meet in person for it. But that's depending on the class, usually not more than 1 or 2 of those per course. That was a good question. Thanks, Julie.
Are these classes available every semester, or are they available like only in fall or only in spring?
So they're available once per year. So depending on the course, it's either in the fall or the spring. So that energy modeling course is coming up this spring semester. And I might be wrong, but I believe that one is in the first half of the semester. So starts mid-January and goes through mid-March. And then in the second half of the semester is the energy controls and the field method. No, sorry, field methods is in the first half of the semester. So I think energy modeling is also in the first half of the semester though.
Hey, Brooke, that's a great question. And Alyssa, it reminds me of something we should take advantage of while other folks are here. So question for the group. I actually sit on SLCC's Program Advisory Council, where Alyssa facilitates on a regular basis conversation about the classes they're offering and how things are structured and that kind of topic, those kinds of topics. One of the things that we've talked about a little bit over the years is for these classes that would potentially be of interest to the IIAC team, what's the best timing for that? What time would you be able to, if you wanted to take a class, what would be the most conducive timing for you to do that? Would it be a fall semester, a spring semester, a summer semester? Just curious what people think about that while we're having this conversation. Can anybody comment on that? Like Brooke, for example, obviously something caught your eye, timing wise for your own curriculum and where you're at. What time of time of the year would work best for you?
I don't know about certain time of the year. I know I would rather do it at the beginning of the semester if it's like a half semester course, because the end of the semester is always the worst. So I'd rather do that. The summer might actually be really nice though, because there's just more time. And if you're like doing an internship, usually it's only 40 hours a week. So that's a lot less than like the normal school semester of work that you're doing. So summer semester might actually be a really nice option. If that was available, that'd be something I'd be interested in.
That's helpful. That actually is affirming for my general sense. Alyssa always has to make decisions about the best timing, obviously also for the target audience that they have in the program. And sometimes that's in conflict with this group. But I've often thought of summer similarly.
Yeah, I would back up Brooke on that. So summer or spring at the beginning of the semester would be awesome. And I guess since I'm already talking, the controls class I think would be really interesting just because I feel like that's applicable to a lot of engineering stuff. So even if we don't end up working in energy engineering, just seeing how that's applied in real life and how to fine tune that would apply for any engineer in any field.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this course is really geared to be specific toward HVAC controls, but you know, really automation is automation. It's a little bit different, you know, than industrial automation. You know, in industrial automation, you work more with, you know, PLCs. And even though it's the same technology, they have some different applications. But the networking is going to be really similar.
Okay, quick question. So I'm interested in a number of these classes and for potentially taking them next semester.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that SLCC received CARES funding for some programs. Just wanted to ask you if that same funding will be available for next.
So the CARES funding that we got for our energy programs was for the energy efficient lighting certificate, which was this semester and is finishing up right now. And then we got CARES funding for the HVAC optimization certificate, which started 2 weeks ago, and that one goes through the rest of the semester and then through all of spring semester. And we still have slots available in that HVAC optimization certificate. And then the building automation certificate, which is actually separate from the energy management AAS degree. It's really more for, you know, the like hands-on, the technicians. So it might be a little more, what's the word? A little more like micro level than, you know, what would be beneficial to you guys, but it's interesting. But I think that course for spring semester is filled up. So I think of the energy programs, the only one that we have room left in is that HVAC optimization certificate. The trouble is that that funding was only for, so all of our courses are cross-listed as non-credit for people who are looking for, you know, professional development and credit. And so the funding was only provided for the non-credit listing. So you would definitely be welcome to use that funding, and it would be great, you know, to get you into that course. And I think it would be really beneficial, but it wouldn't be, you wouldn't be able to transfer it to electives for your program, unfortunately. But if you are interested, give me a call or send me an email as quickly as possible and we can get you in.
I have a quick question about, you mentioned that to take these classes, we'd have to do like a guest student status, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I took some classes through SLIC in the summer semester, and I think I remember them saying there's like a credit limit that you can take as a guest student.
Mm-hmm.
So if we've gone through SLIC, would that like limit us on what we can take now through these energy classes?
The credit limit is 16 hours. So I don't know how close you are to that. And I don't know if that's a per semester credit limit or if that's a total, that might be a total credit limit. But I can look up more information on that and let you know if you want to send me an email.
Are each of the classes like 2 or 3 credits, or are they smaller?
Yeah, they're all either 2 or 3 credits depending on the course.
Okay.
Alyssa, this is fantastic. It's definitely a high level of interest, and just the fact that we still have 9 people on the line 30 minutes after class has concluded is testament to that. So we should figure out how to do this again. Perhaps next semester we come visit the ARC lab or something.
That would be really cool. And hopefully we'll have the cold climate heat pump lab in progress by then.
Fantastic. Well, I suppose we should let you go on with your day as well. Does anybody have any parting questions with Alyssa before she goes? You all should know at this point how to get a hold of her. So I definitely encourage that. And all of these things that we're talking about are things that we're interested in building. So as you pursue anything, keep Dr. Powell and I in the loop, and we can support and help you in those directions.
Thank you, everyone. And feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Alyssa.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Talk to you soon.